Welcome to episode number 5. Today we will be covering the monster with 21 faces. On the night of March 18, 1984, two masked men broke into the home of Katsuhisa Ezaki, the president of Japanese confectionery company Ezaki Glico. They tied up his wife and daughter, found Ezaki while he was in his bath, and abducted him at gunpoint. By midnight, a ransom demand had been delivered: 1 billion yen and 100 kilograms of gold. It was a crime shocking enough on its own, but it was only just the beginning. Three days later, Ezaki escaped from captivity. That should have been the end of it. Instead, the crime expanded into something stranger, more public, and far more unnerving. A person or group calling itself the Monster with 21 Faces began sending letters to companies, police, and newspapers. They claimed to have poisoned candy with cyanide. Stores pulled products from shelves. Parents panicked. A man was photographed placing candy in a store. Another suspect, later known as Fox-Eyed Man, was seen during the ransom drop-off operations and still slipped away. Investigators ultimately conducted a massive multi-prefecture hunt, but the case remains unsolved. More than 40 years later, the case still feels modern, theatrical, media-savvy, and frighteningly efficient. Tonight, we're looking at the evidence, the letters, the suspects, and the mistakes that turned the Glico Morinaga case into one of Japan's notorious unsolved mysteries. This is the story of the monster with 21 faces. Some cases are remembered because they are brutal, others because they are baffling. This one is remembered because it was both methodical and theatrical. The Glico Morinaga case unfolded between 1984 and 1985, beginning with a kidnapping and evolving into a sweeping campaign of extortion and fear directed at major food companies, especially Ezaki, Glico, and Morinaga. The criminals did not simply commit crimes, they staged them. They wrote letters in a mocking, taunting voice, they manipulated police movement, they turned the media into an unwilling amplifier, and they seemed to understand, very early, that terror works best when public participates in spreading it. For our purposes, this is an ideal investigative episode because the clue trail is much richer than in simple disappearances. We have a victim who survived the initial abduction. We have ransom logistics. We have physical evidence in the form of poisoned candy packages and surveillance clues. We have witness descriptions. We have police near misses. And we have one of the most unidentified suspects in Japanese criminal history, the Fox-Eyed Man. So tonight, instead of treating this as a vague legend, we're going to break it down like a case file. Katsuhisa Ezaki was the third president of the Ezaki Glico, the company behind some of Japan's best-known confectionery products. Glico's own corporate history notes that he became president in 1982, and that the company's early 1980s history was marked by what it calls the Metropolitan Designated Case 114, a series of threats and the kidnapping directed at food companies. On March 18, 1984, the attackers entered the family property in Nishinomiya, Hyogo Prefecture. Contemporary reports say they first confronted Ezaki's mother to obtain access, then entered the main house, restrained his wife and daughter, and abducted Ezaki from the bath at gunpoint. UPI reported the ransom demanded at 4.5 million, reflecting that 1 billion yen figure widely cited in the case. That first crime tells us all about the offenders. This was not spontaneous. The kidnappers knew who they wanted, where he lived, and how to get him out fast. They were willing to invade a family home. They were organized enough to issue a structured ransom demand, and, critically, they were comfortable with escalation. In many extortion cases, the threat begins with a letter or a call. Here, it began with a direct personal abduction. That suggests confidence. It also suggests they believe they could control the next stage. But then, almost immediately, the plan cracked. On March 21, Ezaki escaped from the warehouse where he had been held. UPI reported that he fled before dawn after being left unattended. He made it to safety. For the public, that should have sounded like a victory. But investigators were suddenly in a far stranger position. The target was alive, the ransom had not succeeded, and the offenders were still out there with all the initiative. That escape changes the shape of the whole case. It means the kidnappers failed at the most traditional part of the crime. So what happened next may have been both revenge and reinvention. After the kidnapping failed, the campaign widened. According to National Police Agency's later summary, the case that began with the kidnapping of Glico president developed into a broad extortion series targeting major food companies, accompanied by repeated taunting messages to the media and poison candy incidents that shocked the public across multiple regions. The NPA also noted that all the crimes eventually ran out under Japan's statute of limitations by February of 2000, without resolution. That is the basic outline, but the details are what makes it unforgettable. In the weeks after Ezaki's escape, the attackers allegedly set vehicles on fire and left threats involving chemicals. By May 1984, the offenders were using the name The Monster with 21 Faces, a reference to the villain in the fiction of Edogawa Rampo. They told Glico they had laced products with poison. Glico pulled the products from the shelves, taking a major financial hit. Corporate history from Glico confirms the enormous disruption of the company during that period, while later summaries describe the product recalls and public panic in detail. This is one of the first major clues in the case. The offenders understood not only crime, but branding. They gave themselves a name, they wrote in a distinctive voice, they taunted police publicly, they knew journalists would print the letters or at least report on them, and that meant they could spread fear without needing to physically strike every location themselves. A poison candy threat in one city had terrified consumers in another. A single letter could magnify the impact of a single act. There is also something psychologically important here. This did not look like a group solely motivated by money. Money mattered, the ransom demands were real, but so did humiliation. The letters often read like performance, like the offenders wanted police and companies to feel foolish. They seem to enjoy control more than the payoff. This is an inference, but is strongly supported by the repeated taunts and the elaborate games built into the ransom attempts. The next phase turned the case from a corporate kidnapping into a public terror campaign. When the threat spread beyond Glico and later focused on Morinaga, tainted products were actually found in stores. Crime Read summary, consistent with later widely repeated case accounts, notes that cyanide-laced Morinaga candies appeared in stores, from Tokyo to Hakata, and the packages were marked with warning labels saying they contained poison. UPI reported that on October of 1984, The extortionists who had laced the candy with cyanide were threatening more attacks. The warning label is one of the strangest parts of the case. On one hand, it suggests offenders wanted terror more than body count. If the goal had been pure murder, they could have left the packages unmarked. On the other hand, the labels themselves intensified horror. They proved the offenders could reach store shelves, they proved the threats were not empty, and they warned the public that next time there might not be no label at all. Crime Reads notes exactly that escalation in tone, a promise that next time the poison would not be announced. This creates a difficult but important point in the evidence. The poison incidents were not fake. The panic was not based only on letters. Real contaminated candy was found. That means the offenders had access, mobility, and confidence operating in public retail spaces. That also means they were disciplined enough to poison products without immediately being caught in the act. And once that happened, every box on the shelf became a potential crime scene. The fear spread far beyond the targeted companies. The MPA later described the poison candy placements in department stores and supermarkets across eastern, central, and western Japan as broad attempted murder campaign that shook the nation. That wording matters. This was no longer just extortion. It had become a national public safety crisis. The offenders repeatedly sent messages to food companies, newspapers, and police. The National Police Agency later emphasized that criminals not only made demands, but also repeatedly sent challenge letters to the media as though boasting in their own crimes. Later summaries described the letters as written partly in hiragana and in an Osaka-flavored dialect, contributing to the offender's public persona. In an investigative sense, the letters mattered for several reasons. First, they established continuity. Even if there were multiple people involved, the campaign had a coherent message and a coherent pattern. Second, they showed the offenders were paying close attention to police response. Third, they revealed motive structure. The ransom mattered, but so did ridicule, theatrics, and attention. This is also where the case starts to resemble later media age crimes. The offenders seemed to understand that public fear could become a weapon. They did not need to remain invisible in the abstract. In a strange way, they wanted to be seen, just not identified. They wanted a reputation without an arrest, a name without a face. And that strategy worked. The phrase "monster with 21 faces" outlived the actual extortion campaign. It became the organizing myth of the case. One of the clearest clue moments in the case came when a man was caught on surveillance placing Glico candy on a store shelf. Later retellings and case summary describe a man wearing a Yomiuri Giants baseball cap being captured on camera placing Glico products in the store during the poisoning scare. The image was made public. Even though it did not solve the case, it gave investigators and the public something they had desperately wanted: proof that at least one offender or one operative had physically handled the products in a retail setting. This clue is frustrating for two reasons. First, it confirmed the offender's ability to act calmly in public. That alone is important. People who can blend into ordinary retail environments while carrying out poison-related crimes tend to be either very controlled, very practiced, or both. Second, despite the image, the clue seems not to have led to a confirmed identification. In a case filled with letters and rumors, this was one of the more concrete visual leads, and it still wasn't enough. That failure tells us something about limits of 1980s surveillance. Today, a public-facing image might trigger a broader facial comparison rapid circulation online, and retailer cross-checks at scale. Then investigators still need a human breakthrough, someone recognizing a face, a gait, a cap, a habit. That breakthrough never came. This is an inference, but it fits both the era and the fact that the clue became famous without resolving the case. If the videotape man was the case's most famous image, the fox-eyed man was its most famous near capture. During a ransom drop operation involving Muradai Ham, investigators got close to a suspicious observer. According to later summaries, the drop instructions involved a railway sequence and a white flag signal. A later undercover officer posing as a company employee noticed a large, well-built man wearing sunglasses and closely watching him. The suspect was later described as having short, permed hair and eyes like those of a fox. That description became one of the most central identifiers in the whole case. He did not act like a panicked amateur. He watched the undercover officer. He adjusted when expected signal was absent. He tracked police movement without obviously exposing himself. He seemed to understand the choreography of the drop better than the investigators who were trying to catch him. And then came another missed chance. In November 1984, during another secret drop connected to House Foods, officers again believe they encountered the fox-eyed man. Around the same time, a patrol officer from Shiga Prefecture, unaware of the hidden operation, noticed a station wagon with its lights off near the drop area. When the officer illuminated the vehicle, he reportedly saw a thin-cheeked man in a cap with a wireless receiver and headphones. The driver fled. The vehicle was later found abandoned, and investigators discovered it had been stolen. Inside was a radio transceiver that had been monitoring police communications across the prefecture. This is one of the strongest physical evidence moments in the case. A stolen vehicle, police monitoring equipment, a suspect near a live extortion drop. That is not folklore, that is operational evidence. It suggests that the offenders were technically prepared, mobile, and organized enough to listen to the police radio traffic. It also suggests they may have had either inside knowledge, experience with law enforcement methods, or enough discipline to study police procedures and exploit them. The last point is an inference, but it flows directly from the recovered radio equipment and the success of the invasion. If you wanted one section of the evidence to sound like an evidence board, this is it. Because the fox-eyed man was not just a mythic suspect, he was a man investigators nearly had, and they still lost him. After pressure on Glico, the offenders moved on. The extortion campaign expanded to other major food companies, including Morinaga, Muradai, House Foods, and later Fujiya. The National Police Agency summary specifically notes that the case grew into demands for the large cash payments from major food companies after beginning with Ezaki kidnapping. Later summaries likewise describe the shifting focus from Glico to Morinaga and then to other firms. This expansion is important because it complicates motive. If the offenders had a grudge against Glico alone, the move outward makes less sense, but if the campaign was about extortion, fear, and national tension, the expansion makes perfect sense. A single company can be cornered. An entire industry is harder to calm. It also multiplied the investigative workload. Multiple companies meant multiple communications, multiple drop sites, multiple prefecture jurisdictions, multiple corporate security systems, and a larger field for errors. Later commentary in the Japanese press has pointed to the coordination problems and the restricted information flow among police forces during the era. Though such retrospective accounts should be treated carefully, still the complexity of the multi-prefecture operation clearly made the investigation harder. That complexity may be one reason the offenders stayed ahead as long as they did. The scale of the investigation was enormous. People's recent summary states that the investigators conducted more than 100,000 interviews, while NHK programs, materials, and later Japanese references have described the case as consuming roughly 1.3 investigator deployments over time. Even allowing for difference in how these figures are framed, the broad point is clear. Police resources poured into this case at a staggering level, and yet the case kept slipping. There is one especially tragic marker of the pressure. In August of 1985, after a long failure to capture the Fox-eyed man and bring the campaign to an end, Shiga Prefectural Police Superintendent Yamamoto died by self-immolation. Later summaries consistently cite his death as one of the case's darkest turns. That even matters not only emotionally, but structurally. By that point, this was no longer just a crime spree. It was a public wound and an institutional humiliation. Offenders had made police chase signals, decode letters, monitor shelves, protect consumers, and still fell in view of the whole country. The toll was personal as well as professional. It was not sensationalism. It is part of what made the case so enduring in Japanese collective memory. And days later, the offenders sent what became their final known message. According to later summaries, the message effectively declared that they were done with bad guys and no longer wished to pursue the candy companies. After that, the communication stopped, and just like that, the case had seemed to be everywhere became silent. So who were they? One long-running theory is that the Yakuza-linked figures were involved. Later summaries note that Japanese authorities considered possible underground connections, and the public speculation at various points focused on organized crime links. The appeal of this theory is obvious. The operation required nerve, planning, mobility, and extortion logic. But there are limits. The letters were unusually theatrical. The poisoning campaign risked unpredictable escalation, and if organized crime were involved, the operation still displayed a strange appetite for mockery and public symbolism that does not fit purely profit-focused criminal enterprise cleanly. Organized crime remains plausible, but not conclusive. Another theory is that this was a small group, maybe only a handful of offenders, each with a role: planner, writer, field operative, lookout, courier. This theory fits the consistency of the letters, the ability to appear in different contexts, and the use of the counter-surveillance methods like monitoring police radio traffic. This is the theory I find most persuasive, not because it is proven, but because it explains the evidence economically. A small disciplined team could stage the kidnappings, run the extortion communications, plant poison products, and observe a ransom drops without needing a giant network. This is my inference, grounded in the operational behavior seen across the case. Some observers have wondered whether someone with business knowledge or insider familiarity helped shape the crimes. The initial targeting of a company president, the pressure on the food firms, and the timing of demands invite that suspicion, but public evidence for a true insider role appears thin. It is possible that offenders simply study the companies well enough to simulate an insider precision. Because the case was so public and anti-corporate in effect, some authorities also looked at extremist groups. That possibility has been mentioned in later summaries, but again, the public record still seems stronger on extortion behavior and operational opportunism than a clearly defined ideology. The Glico Morinaga case endures because it feels like a blueprint for a future style of crime. It combined hostage-taking, product tampering, media manipulation, psychological warfare, and and symbolic branding before those ideas became familiar in modern public discourse. The offenders exploited trust itself, trust in stores, trust in packaging, trust in police control, and trust that a solved kidnapping would end a crisis. And unlike many old cases, this one left behind not just rumors, but a trail of hard investigative features. The kidnapped executive who escaped, the poisoned candy, the surveillance image, the ransom drop choreography, the stolen station wagon, the radio equipment, the fox-eyed man, those are real anchors. They are why this case still feels so alive. The statute of limitations eventually expired, first for the kidnapping and later for the attempted murder aspects of the poison products, with the final deadline passing by in 2000, as NPA notes. Legally, the case is closed. Historically, it never did. A company president is taken from his home. He escapes. The attacker reinvent themselves as public phantom. Candy is pulled from shelves. Poison packages appear in stores. Newspapers receive mocking letters. Police chase signals and lose the man they need to catch the most. A nation watches, waits, and never gets an answer. That is the shape of the Glico Morinaga case. Not just an unsolved crime, but an unsolved performance. The monster with 21 faces did not merely hide from police. They turned the act of hiding into a part of a spectacle. They left public see their effects, hear their voice, almost glimpse their faces, and still they stayed just beyond reach. And maybe that is the most unnerving clue of all. Whoever they were not lucky, they were prepared.